Hello and welcome everyone to our first generation career talk. My name is Derek Jackson. I am a program specialist in the Office of Undergraduate Education for first generation student programs. I've been I was a student at UT Dallas. For those that don't know, I was a student at UT Dallas from 2011 to 2017. I did my undergraduate and my graduate school at UT Dallas. I am first generation myself, so I was a first generation college student, and I too am a first generation professional. And I am just beyond excited. I'm trying not to let the hype beast come out, but I'm beyond excited to be joined not only with my colleague Eric, but his very, very impressive friends that are joining us today. So I'm Derek. It's great to be here with you all, and now I'll turn it over to Eric. Derek and Eric.
Thank you. And we co-piloting this thing, so he's definitely gonna be helping me moderate and ask questions. But just to introduce myself, my name is Eric Green. I am a career consultant at the University Career Center. Been there for about 2.5 years. But prior to that, my whole life work has always been about helping other people. And this was just something that I wanted to construct in a creative way to try to help other people. So with that being said, I connected with Derek, came up with the idea. He was all on board, and we just made it happen. So now we're here. We got our guys. So just enough about us. I want you guys to introduce yourselves and just let us know, who you are. Just give us an elevator pitch, as they call it in careers. Give us a 30-second elevator pitch of who you are, introducing yourselves, and then we'll kick off. And y'all could jump in, no order or anything.
Okay. My name is Kyle Montgomery, a good friend of Eric's. Happy to be on the panel. I mean, when he asked me to do it, it was a no-brainer. I've been working in sports broadcasting for almost 15 years now. I've covered NBA, NFL. I've been on Cartoon Network, CNN. I made a lot of appearances, ESPN. I've been fortunate to do a lot of things coming out of the same city as Eric, Kansas City, Kansas. We all went to the same high school, and now I find myself in a very fulfilling career that I didn't necessarily plan. I know we're gonna have a question session where I can kind of get into that, but happy to be here all together, and it's an honor to be on this panel with these other successful gentlemen as well.
And I'm Eliott Nelson, piggybacking off Kyle from Kansas City, Kansas, same high school. Currently, I'm an officer in the United States Secret Service. I've been in law enforcement and corrections for about 14 years. Since then, also getting my master's degree in business. Again, happy to be a part of the panel. I'm always rooting for the people who started life at home plate. A lot of people in life hit home runs and they started life at third base. So I'm always rooting for those that started right from the bottom and work their way up.
Solid. I'm Tarold Davis. I'm the underclassman, as you can tell, since I'm going last. We'll point that out to you fellas. No. But no, we all went to school together, went to high school, kind of similar upbringings in the areas that we grew up in. Currently, I'm the development manager for a company called Fulson Housing Group. I have 2 degrees, one associate's degree in business management, and then a bachelor's in marketing. So I'm feeling really, really good about today's conversation, and shout out to Eric again for giving us an opportunity to share our stories.
All right, that was more than 30 seconds, everybody. Y'all got to do a pick. But with that being said, I think y'all hit on something that's going to kind of catapult this conversation to a discussion. Where we from? So I'm gonna name a few places and see what y'all reactions are. Los Amigos.
Come on.
Man,
Okay. Oh, Kissington.
Oh, yep. Kensington. That's where we hooped summer camp. Yeah.
JFK. Quinduro. State Street. 63rd.
Parallel. Leavenworth Road.
Exactly. Then we got to end off with Wyandotte. Wyandotte High School. So
Yeah.
Wyandotte County was the area that we're from. So just from y'all perspective, this is my first question. From y'all perspective, what was y'all experience growing up in Wyandotte?
Man, I'm poverty, man. Poverty. And I was just having this conversation with my wife is because it's still a little strict today. And so when you remove yourself and you go back, you really don't take it all in and be like, man, we lived in this mess. Like we're suffocated by it. But when I think about Wyandotte County, that's the first thing that comes to my mind is the privatized communities. I mean, from 7th Street on up to the 50 something, 60 somethings. I think once you get like 70th and Leavenworth Road, you get a little cleaner, but that's immediately what I think about.
Mm-hmm. I think about, not only the poverty, but just the drugs that are rampant within the community, drugs and violence, and the overall mentality. When you grow up in an impoverished area, everybody is willing to bend the rules a little bit because that's all they know. So when you come up in Kansas City, you got to have your head on a swivel. Somebody is always looking to take your lunch, unfortunately. And so you come up rough. You got to know how to throw some hands. You got to know how to improvise. You got to know how to make do with less. And so we kind of start from behind the 8 ball. But yeah, I'm sure Eliott, you could piggyback off that.
Yeah, and that too, and also on them same lines is just opportunity. We didn't have a lot of opportunity. I know growing in high school, I think I went to the library like 2 or 3 times because the library didn't have the materials needed anyway. So why even go to the library? Scholarships. We had to fight for scholarships. It wasn't a lot of money for us to pursue colleges and different things like that. So for us to obtain lots of money in scholarships and have this spoke to our, family upbringing and the dedication and the drive we had within ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I really like, that y'all pointed out just some of the challenges that we face just growing up. But the beautiful thing that I really, really want to highlight is that we had relationships with each other. And I think we found comfort in that and just being motivated by each other and just wanting to pursue more. And I think T, you touched on poverty, and Kyle, you touched on drugs and just the challenges we face with that and just trying to fight our way through. Eliott, opportunities. But with that being said, that's the stage. Sometimes we have that fixed mindset state versus a growth mind state. Mm-hmm. When we're in those spaces. And a lot of times in careers, we talk about that. Just what is a growth mindset and then what is a fixed mindset? So with that being said, what motivated y'all to push past all of that? To say this is not what I want to be. I want to do something different. It's more to life than this.
I think that people look at pride in a negative light. I think that you have to be prideful in ways to push yourself to be successful because you don't want to associate yourself with that negative feeling of failure. You're too proud to. So for me, there was a lot of different factors. Number one, I was just too proud. I was not going to allow myself to fail. I was not going to be just another dude out of Kansas City who fell by the wayside, who got involved in drugs, who got shot, who just followed the status quo. So I had those motivating factors, and also I had a lot of positive reinforcement from my family. I had, my grandmother, my grandfather, my uncles, my cousins. These were people who were around me that were encouraging me when I did something well, when I did well in school, when I got an accolade. They made sure that they boosted me up when I did stuff like that. So those things helped me, help motivate me. Then there were other factors as you get older. You have children and things like that. Those will light a fire underneath your butt too, to keep you going. But for me, you know, I definitely can't. I'd be remiss not to mention the people that were around me, that were supporting me, and that includes y'all, because I think you touched on something, E, when you said that we pushed each other in high school. And we did. I remember us all applying for scholarships and trying to see who got the letter back from Jackson State or Alabama State, or so we were competing with each other, but we had the right idea in mind. We were competing to be successful. We weren't competing to see who was going to get the most bread by selling, this or that. We were competing with the right mind frame.
Yeah, we was also competing with Gators. But I ain't gonna get into that. That's a whole nother story. But
hey, if you want to add another hour to it, we can get all through it.
And I think too, for me, just echoing from Kyle too, I think for me it's as simple as a son's promise to his mom. My mom was a physical therapist for about 30-something years. After she got off of work there, he would go clean office buildings. So my brother is also 10 years older than me, and my stepfather worked till late in the evening. So I didn't have a babysitter. So a lot of times I went to work with my mom. And I remember riding home one day telling her, like, she was just bone breaking, man. I was like, yo, I told her, like, hey, when I become an adult, I'm gonna make sure you ain't gotta work as hard as you working right now. Anything you want in your life, I'm gonna try to provide. So now just doing little things like buying her 2 or 3 pairs of shoes or taking her on a vacation or something like that. It's just that strength for me. But also, like Kyle said, us pushing each other. Kyle, I don't know if you remember this, but I think it was when you first got hired at NBA or the Turner. You came home, you you invited everybody out to Dave and Buster's, and you pretty much took care of the whole bill. And I'm like, man, that was like $300 something, $400, like, man. And you told me, you was like, bro, it's a race to $1 million. I want to become a millionaire, and that stuck with me. I don't think you know that, but it motivated me and stuck with me, because I'm like, man, me and this dude was together. I can do better than what I'm doing. So yeah, those are some factors.
And since that point, me and Eliott have met up. Our career paths have brought us together away from home. I've been in DC, and we've met up. We've had dinner. We got a chance to reconnect, man. That's when you see stuff come full circle, man. I'm seeing him taking huge strides in his career, and I'm doing the thing. See, man, those are the things that you can't pay for. I mean, those reward you in a way that most people can't imagine.
Yeah, and I know, T-Bird, I pretty much T-Bird was my next door neighbor, and I was always motivated by just how mature he was and just his mindset, his perspective, and just the course of his life, and just seeing him kind of transform. Like, T-Bird, like, what was your perspective on just keeping that mindset, just like Kyle, Eliott, we encouraging each other, but what was your mind state on trying to achieve more?
Yeah. So obviously for those of you, like, who's T-Bird? That's me. So that's that I picked up.
Thank you.
You know, I mean, like they're saying, I had, the parental influence, and my dad was always on me, who taught me, you got to work hard out here. Nothing comes easy. You don't want to get out in the streets. There's nothing out there for you. And honestly, to be honest, that in one ear out the other, I attempted to be the knucklehead, right? But I was just never found success. Never found success because there was a lot of people in the neighborhood and a lot of family members. They always saw more in me than what I did in myself. And I give a lot of credibility right now to my wife, who was at the time my high school sweetheart, right? So she's, y'all know Ebony, and so she's like always on top of her stuff. And so she's looking at me like, so what are you doing with yourself? What's going on? So she really pushed me to kind of level up and start taking school seriously, trying to figure out where I want to go and what I want to do, and really occupied me. Honestly, really occupied me and kept my mind out of all of the negativity we had going around us at the time. But so a lot of different factors contributed to that, and it's invaluable.
Yeah. So Derek, what you think, man? What's your insights on it, man?
I just, you guys' stories, I think resonates with a lot of people, and it certainly resonates with me. I remember coming to Scholars Day for UT Dallas in 2010. It was, I want to say it was November, December 2010. And if you're familiar with the Dallas Fort Worth area, I am from Oak Cliff, which is around like South Dallas, Southeast Dallas, I would say. And I went to Richardson, Texas for the first time where UT Dallas is located in December of 2010. And when I saw people just riding their bikes down Campbell Road like nothing, I was like, I'm never leaving this place. It was such a, there's a difference that kind of clicks with you. It's like, oh wow, people just do these things here. And then not to mention, I was really impressed with the enthusiasm of the folks at UT Dallas, which there's something about feeling very welcomed from other people, especially when you come from the backgrounds that we all sort of come from. It's very encouraging, and it's equally encouraging just to hear you all stories about the growth mindset. As someone who is a psychologist by training, positive psychology, that makes me very happy to hear about that. And it sounds like it is ingrained in you guys, and it is also ingrained in most first generation students that I've encountered. I do have a question, but first I want to address a question that popped in the chat. Now, I apologize if I mispronounced this, but I'm just going to say Vishal had a question. It said, I'm joining UT Dallas for a Master of Science in Computer Science this fall, 2020. Welcome. They're from India. Welcome. They have worked 4 years with Accenture. Thank you. They would love to know your thoughts on how international students connect with American culture and people and make constructive connections. Your experience, as well as you guys' experience with international students. Anyone from the same course or batch, feel free to connect. So I'll go first on that. Welcome to UT Dallas. I think you will find that UT Dallas, we pride ourselves on our diversity. We have a very diverse campus. We also have a very open campus. In times where we're all kind of meeting virtually, I would very much encourage you to reach out to myself or Eric for any virtual events that bring students together. We are always very, very happy to assist. We love our international students, our international community. I think you will find that we all have a lot in common here on this campus. And feel free to definitely reach out to one of us if you like to know any ways that we can connect. I would say just be yourself. We're very open here. Just be yourself, and the connections will come. Working with international students regularly, I can say that. But I would be curious about you guys' experiences working with international students, especially when you were an undergrad.
I went to an HBCU, and we did have a few international students. Most of my interactions with people in other countries have been through some of my international travel. I didn't mention I also cover basketball globally, so that's given me the privilege of being able to go to China and several countries in Europe and interact with some of the students and just general people over there. So they're really accepting of us, and I would expect the same. I don't think especially in today's digital age and how you can reach out through all these different social media platforms, it should be pretty easy to reach out, link up with somebody that's common, that has a common interest, common like. Maybe you're studying the same thing, and I don't think that they should have any trouble with that.
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. I had a question that was a pretty good segue into the conversation that we just had about mindset. How did that, for you gentlemen, sort of translate into your experiences in college? Much like many of the students, first generation students, have that sort of inherent resiliency. And so, how did that manifest for you all as you moved through undergraduate? Because I can tell you from my experience, I was tested almost immediately coming into UT Dallas as a first generation student, not really having a clear sort of blueprint for how to do things. So I'd be curious to hear you guys' thoughts on that.
I'll go. I feel like my mindset when I was starting college, I feel like I was under prepared. Like I really didn't know what to expect, and I don't think not knowing what to expect, I couldn't really get my mind in order to be prepared for everything that I had to endure at the time. But most definitely, once I got in, figured out pretty quickly that maybe it's a good idea being out on my own because when you turn 18, 19, like, I can't wait to leave. I can't wait to get out of the house. And then you get out there, it's like, well, wait a minute, I gotta pay to buy some groceries. It's like I get breakfast, lunch, dinner, but I'm still starving. In between those times, and then just having the money for basic things or for detergent, all these different types of things. But so I'm saying all that is because I struggled a little bit in that area, which affected how I performed in class because I just didn't feel like it was sustainable. So I really couldn't really focus in on coursework or even start somewhere like talking something simple as talking to my advisor because and trying to figure out which direction I should go because I'm so flustered with the environment. Like, man, I don't have any money, and I had a job all throughout high school, so I'm used to keeping money in my pocket. I'm like, I don't have this, don't have that, and I didn't have a super strong support system, so it made it a little bit more difficult. But going in, I just think you gotta be kind of aware of those things, and if you don't have a strong family support structure that's going to help you in those times, and they, bless you with a little something and make sure you're okay, just be prepared to deal with those challenges.
For me, starting in high school, myself and Eric were fortunate enough to get involved in that Upward Bound program. Upward Bound, pretty much in the summertime, we used to visit KU. So we stayed on campus. So we started learning campus etiquette and what to do as far as classes and enrollment and, hey, on time for this class, what you need. And we didn't have ACT prep courses in high school either. So that Upward Bound program really catapulted us to college. Also, when we got in college, both of us joined fraternities. So we had a strong bond of other brothers who iron sharpens iron pretty much. If I didn't have something, I can just walk into the house and get it. So I think that helped me a lot with my mindset. I had other people in my same position backing me. I seen that. So it kind of kept me pushing. Hey, if they can do it, I can do it. If I don't have it, I can ask them and they'll help me,
For me, I was kind of forced into some adult responsibilities before it was time for me to go off to college. I would say this, it prepared me to a degree, but coming off, kind of piggybacking off what Tarold said, is you are a little bit disheveled. You are a little bit out of sorts because here you're on campus and you look the part, but you don't necessarily feel the part. You've made it, you got accepted, you're on campus, you're going to, but now that you're stepping into adulthood, it can be intimidating. But I would tell a lot of young dudes out there, don't ever think it's too big for you. College life is really somewhat your first step into adulthood. But for me, I was paying bills. I was responsible for myself in a lot of ways, even in high school, a little earlier than I should have been. But I always kind of kept a chip on my shoulder, even going to college, that, I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. And I didn't feel confident that I could handle the curriculum, but I'd be damned if I wasn't going to do it. And I went there and I said, hey, this is a challenge. If you can get a degree here and you can prove that you're smart and that you can excel with your peers, then you should be ready for the real world. So I took it like I was challenging somebody one-on-one. Hey, except I was challenging myself, and I wasn't going to let me beat me. You understand? So that's kind of how I went, how I approached college.
I love that. We actually got a great question that just came in, and here I'll read it and just see what y'all thoughts is about it. What is one piece of advice that you wish you could go back and tell yourself when you were navigating college during your experience as a first gen? What one piece of advice would you tell yourself as a college student?
I would say I was granted a book scholarship to go to a community college back home, free, full 2 years free. But I wanted that university life, baby. I wanted to Tennessee State. I wanted to get out there and party and do all this. So me saying that now I have more student loan than I want to have. So,
Yeah.
any opportunity that's put on the table as far as your education can go, that somebody else believes in you and puts forth, take that up. The university life, everything is gonna be there, but just know you're gonna have a life after college, and you're gonna be accountable for life after college. So that's one thing I would tell myself: take advantage of that scholarship.
Yeah.
That's good.
I tell myself, you ain't grown. You ain't grown. You think you 20? You think you grown? Even coming out of college at 22, you ain't grown. I know that's not a proper diction to use on it, but you're not grown. I mean, you've got so much more growth coming in front of you, as a young adult. But again, we're all trying to play that role. We're trying to live up to what our age says. We're trying to live up to whatever that platform dictates. So yeah, you're not grown. Don't rush yourself, and don't be too hard on yourself. You're gonna make a lot of mistakes early on. A lot of times when you get off to school, you may not even know exactly what you want to do. There's gonna be people pressuring you to say, well, what are you gonna do? Pick. There's time. I didn't find out what I wanted to do with my career until my junior year of college. So yeah, I didn't know for sure until my junior year of college. So
hey Cal, I know you have a question, but we couldn't tell that in high school in classes. We always knew you were gonna be an actor, a comedian.
That show was on some other. He switched his voices in class.
Yeah, I go to this one right here for a while, and then I might go from that voice to talking about somebody's shoes to doing something. Just listen, I ain't proud of everything I did.
You ain't too proud.
You are.
But I didn't know. I knew that I could utilize some of those skills that I had. The skill I had to make people laugh. I didn't have much fear of standing up in front of the classroom and saying something crazy. Those skills can transfer into a career, and it led me into a career in sports broadcasting. But
But just to kind of piggyback off what you said and not really knowing, yourself into junior year. And I think one thing that I would have told myself is to utilize the resources that I have available. Because sometimes I get stuck into my bubble, and I was like, I don't know what resources are available to me. And at UTD, we got tons of resources like the Career Center, like the Cultural Scholars Program, like Multicultural Center. We got tons of resources that you can get involved in and be connected and discover yourself a lot faster than what you anticipated, because you are aware you taking advantage of those opportunities that was available to you. So I think that's one thing I would have done. I know we joined Alpha Phi Alpha, but that's just limited to the scope of what we could do, So I think I would have told myself. But T, what you think? What you would have said to yourself?
I mean, I definitely would have. I'm piggybacking off with kind of like what you just said, is to seek mentorship, man. I mean, have somebody there to walk you through, and sometimes we always don't make logical decisions, and sometimes decisions may be too much based off of emotion. But if I would have had someone there to say, hey, don't take out that much student loan, you don't need it, or don't take up this degree, it doesn't have a good return on investment. So somebody that can really critique some of my decision makings to help me avoid a lot of those pitfalls. I mean, I would have definitely advised myself to seek out a mentor. and not just from, I'm just talking school in general, just personal development as well. Keeping my mind focused so I don't get too distracted with the college ongoing. And so that's it, man. That is it.
All right, that's good. So let's transition now to college, because now that was just one phase of our life. Now we enter into the real world as a first gen, as a first person working in your field or whatever. What challenges that y'all face just trying to transition from college to the real world? I know one thing that I was battling with was just the code switching. So going from college back to the hood or back to our space and trying to navigate that space as a college student and a transformed individual with new experiences, and then really trying to find myself in that space. So that was one of the challenges that I faced. But what was something that y'all faced as y'all transition from going from college to the real world?
Well, my situation was a little bit unique because I ended up working full time and going to school full time. So I kind of always been in both lanes at the same time. So I guess the challenge was just balancing those two. Because now I've created more expenses for myself, and I'm in the quote unquote real world, and I'm paying bills, and I'm doing all this, and I have to make sure my grades and all that is kept up. But afterwards, now I'm faced with, okay, I've spent X amount on my degree. I'm working this blue collar job, and I want to transition to something that's gonna improve my finances. How do I go about doing it? I have no experience in what I'm trying to get into. What do I do? So it took me a little bit to try to navigate all that on my own. Again, I'm just feeling around in the dark. Didn't really have anybody to lean on for advice there. So that was my biggest challenge, is just trying to figure out, after the degree, how do I transition to the career?
I can attest to that with the degree and the career. I was kind of fortunate too. Once I graduated college, I moved back home with my mom just to kind of figure some things out. And then I got tired of that. Then here we go. Like Cal said, you ain't too grown. So my grown self in my own apartment, thinking, you know what I'm saying? I got to have this paper. I'm about to get paid. And when I got that first paycheck, it wasn't what I thought.
After those taxes.
Uncle Sam smacked you in the face.
And Eric, I don't even think you know this. I know my mom is on here, but my lights was turned off for about a month. But pride killed me, man. I couldn't let nobody know that. So that reality of yo, all this money that you think you're making, yeah, come here. Now you got to pay all this stuff. So I think that's what my defining moment was as far as transitioning from college to my life. College, you have room and board, everything is already included. You got frat brothers, they got meal plans on their cards you can use, or you can steal some stuff out of the refrigerator. Now it's all on you. You know what I'm saying?
I was kind of anxious to get out on an island on my own just to test and see if I had what it took. But some of my biggest challenges transitioning from college to my career was, number one, I was doing something that was very, very, very unique, and that no one that I had ever known had ever embarked on. So I'm coming from the hood. A lot of people don't know Kansas City, Kansas is really the hood. So we have a certain dialect. We speak a certain way. We communicate a certain way. And I spent 18 years of my life in that type of environment. And now I'm not just transitioning to, a desk job, or I'm going on television. So every word that I say is being evaluated by hundreds of thousands, sometimes even millions of people, or later on in my career. But early on, so I was very self-conscious of how I spoke. Did I have what it took to get in front of a TV screen and speak to an audience in a city that I had never been to before? me being a hood person, what if I say the wrong word, or if I try to do, or if my sentence structure isn't in line, different things like that. How am I supposed to dress? I look back at the suits we wore to prom, and I'm like, what were we doing? We have big old zoot suits on, the shoulders 3 inches too far out, and we got Dob hats on. But that's the culture I was coming from, because we didn't know any different than that. That's what we knew. Stacey Adams shoes with the toe all bent up. That's what we knew. So that's what I was going into a professional career at being. No, hold on a second, baby. I was not prepared. Not only that, I was also I got married right out of college too. So I'm embarking on my career. I'm also embarking on trying to be a husband and a father. So I mean, the challenges were abundant. But just from a career perspective, I was just trying not to trip over my words and getting on TV.
Yeah.
Hey, so really quick, let me share this funny really quick, because when I got out there, I'm learning how to dress and doing all that, I had a guy that critiqued me. It hurt my feelings pretty good, but I thank this man to this day. I had on, I think it was like a very bright, like a lime green or something like that. And he's like, "Hey man, man, that shirt is just a little loud. Just a little loud. You might want next time they throw a jacket on over." So early on, man, I got critiqued in my dress. Oh man.
Yeah, the humble you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it had to humble me. And my tie wasn't correct.
So I mean, it's safe to say that we had a lot of pressure from being married to that duality of just trying to take care of ourselves, independence, sustainability, and work at the same time, and just our pride. I mean, I know you talked about pride from a positive standpoint, but just the pride of maybe our lights going out and not really being able to vocalize that. So
remember, we were still finding out. We're finding ourselves as men too.
Yeah.
That can't get lost in this as well. We're stepping into ourselves as men, and some of us had examples. I was fortunate to have a father that I grew up with and a grandfather. But finding yourself as a man, we come into manhood with a lot of questions and pressures that we put on ourselves. Eliott didn't want to tell nobody about his lights because he felt like, I'm a man now.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be able to handle this.
Yeah.
And we internalize a lot of that stuff coming into our careers as well. Being black men, there's so many additional things that we have to worry about. And so many fires to put out, so many battles. That's why I'm so proud of everybody on this panel, man. Not to over talk, but I want to say that.
But here's a question I want to ask, because we do experience the pressure. So what about the pressure of being first and people relying on you? Because that's a different type of pressure. Like you trying to find yourself, but also your family's relying on you. Yeah. Either financially, either just emotionally, either just whatever that is, and carrying that weight. Like what experience do y'all have with that?
Oh, you mean being the golden goose?
Yeah. The token.
It's a challenge. It's a challenge, man, because you get out and you start doing good, and and your status is improving, financial status is improving, and you have personal financial goals for yourself and your family. But then, now you're looked at as a source for all problems that may be in your family, which is very difficult, man, because you want to make sure you can take care of your mom and your dad and your brothers and sisters and all that. But it's tough when you got to make a decision. It's like, well, a lot of times it's money, right? Let's just be honest. A lot of times it's money. You may have plans to start a business or invest the money, and then you get these emergency calls, right? Like, hey, can I have this? Can I have that? And so now you're sitting here and you're really having to make an emotional decision. because you don't want to let people down. You know, you don't want people to feel like you're leaving them behind. So I struggle with that a little bit as far as like keeping that balance. Like, man, I work hard and I'm trying to build up my next egg to do more, but at the same time, I know there's a lot of people that are suffering in my family. So naturally, I am a giver. But it's a challenge, man. Trying to keep that balance and make sure you're not letting people down. Because I feel like ultimately that's what just feel like you're letting people down when you say no. I can't help you this time.
Mm-hmm. I think for me it's somewhat opposite than what T said until this ending portion where people are looking where you feel like you're letting people down. I have to beg my mom or somebody to ask me for something. Like, it's okay. Like, ask me to do something for you. My mom comes up here for about 4 or 5 months every year, and it takes me tooth and nail to be able to do something for her. If it's going to get some food, or when we go to the movies, me paying for her movie ticket, she put the money right back into my account, and I'm like, dude, like, come on, let me, like, I got you. I can take care of it. So it's just that struggle, and I have kind of an older family too, so they real old school where they are independent. They don't need anything. They're gonna make it happen. If they gotta go without, they go without. So being first gen, I'm breaking that barrier, showing like, hey, we're a family. It's okay to ask for some stuff. And if my family is watching, don't just start asking for stuff today. But you just open it up. Don't start right now. Keep that same energy. Yeah, but I'm somewhat opposite, like having to put it out there that I can do stuff for family, friends.
Yeah.
For me, you know, I will say my family has been really good about, you know, not overexhausting me or asking me for too much. But I have experienced, you know, people kind of coming out of the woodworks, people that that didn't really communicate a whole lot with me prior to me leaving Kansas City. And then once they saw me on TV, then they said, oh, let me reach out. Let me say what's up to Kyle. I hadn't talked to him in, 10 years, but I see him. So, they automatically associate you being on TV with, having, all kinds of money and all this disposable income. And, true enough, I've had a lot more success in my career than I ever could have dreamed of. But I echo what everybody else says. It does come with a lot of pressure, whether it's direct or indirect. Even the people that don't necessarily ask for it, you see them hurting, and they know that you got it. So you're almost obligated to do it. So there's been times where I've stretched myself thin, but I had to humble myself and even come clean early. When I first came out of school, when you started in television in the really small markets, they don't pay you a lot of money just because you're on TV. My first job out of school, I wouldn't make it hardly 30 grand. Okay. And that's on TV in a very tiny city in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. But the ceiling is very high. So if you get, the more you ascend, the more money that you make. But the more money you make, like you said, more people are going to come out of the woodworks looking for stuff. Yeah.
I have a great follow-up comment, especially for people getting early in their careers. When I was in graduate school, this is advice that I would like to give everyone in the audience. When I was in graduate school, I had this problem of I'm a first-year master's student and comparing myself to like a fifth-year PhD student. That's a fallacy that happens in our head, but we do it. And we tend to compare ourselves to like the successful, but we don't include the perspective of I just started, right? Same thing, and that's something that kind of followed me into my career now, like into higher education. Logically, it doesn't make sense if I'm in my second year, or the third, going into my third year in higher ed, comparing myself to someone who's been in the game for a decade plus. Like it doesn't, because then that kind of affects your psyche a little bit. You tend to be a little harder on yourself for making mistakes that likely the people that you're looking up to made the same mistakes when they were in your position. So I would just say, do not do that. My graduate advisor, when I was in my master's program, said something that sticks to me to this day. He said, perfection is an impossible standard, so do not try to achieve for it. The best thing for us to do is just to keep the perspective, definitely try to improve, but just look at don't look at your weaknesses as weaknesses, look at them as lesser strengths, and like any muscle, you just build it. So that's something that I definitely would go back and tell myself, in addition to ask for help. It would be, hey, you're just do your thing, just do you, learn from your mistakes and just keep going. And it's great to try to aspire to be like the person you admire, that's in the same field as you, but direct apples to apples comparisons are not, it's not possible at that point.
Man, that's great advice, man. Thank you for sharing that, Derek. But we do have a question for Kyle, and then we'll have to wrap it up because it's almost at the top of the hour. And I want to just end off on a positive note, but which this whole thing is positive to me, because I feel like now people can look in and see the experience from a Black first gen individual that's really doing something in their careers. So it's a good question for Kyle. Your story about struggling with your speech resonated with me, and this is from Ellen. So could you share how you overcame that insecurity and improved?
I worked hard. What I did is I started to watch all kinds of different broadcasts, whether it be sports, news. I would watch their cadence in the way that they spoke. If they said a word that I wasn't familiar with, I got a thesaurus, and I would write the word down. Also, I would go through the thesaurus, and I would look for different words to use in place of words that I commonly used before. So instead of saying tendency, you could say propensity, typical, proverbial. I mean, there's all kinds of different, and it takes demand on yourself. You got to look at your environment. You have to determine what is it going to take for me to be successful here. And if it takes spending extra time, extra hours working on your speech and working on, coming up with, different phrases, then that's exactly, that's my daughter right there. She's working on her speech too. I know, baby, I know. But I really did that, and it paid off, So, and it's still growing. I'm still writing down words like, oh, wow. Okay, I like how they, okay, he likes the adoration or the this or that. Okay, I like that. I write it down and I try to, implant it in my mind.
Man, great advice. So let's turn the tables a little bit real quick. I got a question for you. This is the elevator pitch, 30 seconds for each person. What was your defining moment? Well, no. What was the most proud moment that you had in your career? The most proud moment that you had.
So for one, getting who knows somebody that worked for the Secret Service, especially coming from where we came from. So not just getting a job of Secret Service, but now I'm actually on the verge of getting promoted to sergeant in the United States Secret Service. So that's all. And then getting able to talk to President Obama, that was pretty cool too. He actually had a letter sent to me and my wife for our wedding, and then the picture that we took with that family, we displayed at our wedding. So that was like nothing in life can get better than that.
Okay.
Let me jump in. See, I try to go before. Always have these amazing stories. And president, we had lunch together and all that. For me, I started the firm that I worked for. It's a very small company, and when I started, we just operated in the state of Missouri. So, and I started with absolutely zero experience, and the guy gave me a chance. And when I first started, his goal was always to move beyond the Missouri borders and expand to different states. So I've been able to expand the company within a 2-year year time frame. I've been able to get into 2 other states. So that was a really proud moment for me, because wherever you are, you just want to feel like you add value. So that was my moment.
All right. So, Kyle, what was your most proud moment?
Man, man, I guess my first phone call from a news director in Mississippi telling me that I got a job as a sports anchor. I think that first one resonates with me the most. I have had a lot, you know, I've covered 4 or 5 All-Star games. I've interviewed Jerry Rice, Roger Clemens, I mean, Floyd Mayweather, LeBron, Kobe, all of them. These are all great things that have happened in my career that I hold on to. But I guess that first call that got me in, that'll be my most proud moment.
Hey, Eric, ask the panel a quick question.
Yeah.
So for you gentlemen, like the moment in your career that got y'all going into that direction, like what was it for y'all that like Tarold, like knew that you want to do property development, or Kyle, like that I know that you didn't plan on doing that, but what put that in you to instill to elevate in that field? Like what was that defining moment?
I'll say mine real quick. It was I had 2 professors. I had a professor named Jonathan Hemsel. He told I wanted to be a radio DJ. I wanted to work at Hot 103 Jams, and he told me, he says, like Tarold says, he says, listen, your return on investment isn't going to be that high in radio. He says, you know, you're a handsome guy. His words, not mine. He said, go see if you can get in front of a TV and do sports broadcasting. You play basketball, you like sports, you'll have a much higher ceiling in that. I promise you, if you go and try it. Now, I was self-conscious. I thought I was going to talk too much. I can't talk like a white boy. That's what I was thinking in my head. But I went after it, and that pushed him and Dolores Keith, another one of my professors. They pushed me to do it, and that changed the whole trajectory of my career.
Oh.
Yeah. Just real quick for me, I guess just the push to get into real estate really was based on like pride of ownership, right? Because looking around our neighborhoods and communities, there was nothing we owned, there was nothing we built, and so that really kind of motivated me. I was like, man, I need to get in this real estate thing. The money aspect came last. I was like, man, these guys are making a lot of money doing this. But for the most part, it was just the pride of ownership, being able to go in and redevelop communities, have ownership in those buildings or whatever it is. But that was the thing. That was the thing.
All right.
And I think for me, real quick, was the fact that like I was with Eric for this. We were coming from homecoming, and we got pulled over. They said that we did a description, the car or whatever. I had a white Chevrolet Corsica. Things smoke, red smoke, blue smoke, red, all that kind of stuff. And so actually, Eric got pulled out the car at gunpoint, and we wasn't doing anything. You know, we wasn't doing anything. So that moment, seeing him at gunpoint and my hands on the wheel, our dates in the back seat, I said, yo, I got to get in law enforcement so I can stop stuff like this is happening. So I think that itself is what catapulted me into being interested in law enforcement corrections.
That's dope, man. That's dope. So I'm gonna say ask this last question, and then I'll let Derek end off with his summary and his final words. But I remember when I was talking to Cal the other day, and he said something that really resonated with me. He said, you know, appreciate the process. And then T-Bird, when I just your life and just talking to you on a daily basis, I understand the value of relationships and building relationships and how that, you know, just translate over into success and dividends. And then with Eliott, man, just you shooting for sergeant, it really just helps me to say that it's more than life just where you at. Always shoot for the ceiling. So what's your final advice? I mean, that's just from my experience, what I got from you guys. But what final advice would you give the people that's watching before we end it off?
I would say in whatever relationships you form, just always add value to that relationship. It doesn't necessarily need to be career involvement. Just add some value to that person's life, because those type of things will take you really far. You were talking about relationships, and that was one key thing that I did, that I learned to do, that allowed more doors and opportunities, because I genuinely just wanted to provide value in somebody's life, and so it opened up more doors for them.
I think for me, it's just a fraternity poem that I got posted in my room. It's called Test of a Man. Test of a man is the fight that he makes, the grit that he daily. The test of a man is the fight that he makes, the grit that he daily shows, the way that he stands up on his feet and takes life's numerous bumps and blows. A coward can smile where it's not the field when nothing's progress bars, but it takes a man to stand still while the other fellow fars. For isn't the victory after all but a fight that a brother makes? A man when driven against the wall still stands erect and takes the blows of fate with his head held high.
Bleeding, bruised, and pale is a man to win, fate to five.
Or isn't afraid to fail.
Yes,
like,
sir.
Don't be afraid of nothing in your life. I was in a program growing up where this counselor told me and Eric that we was going to be dead or in jail or be teenage parents, and we defied all that. All of us on here, you all that's listening to First Gen, y'all defied something in your life. So just take that. It's going to be a lot of negatives, but you're going to be able to rejoice a lot more than that.
Yeah. And I'm gonna take a page out of my pop's book. He always tell me it's simple, but it really resonates with me. He said, "Ain't nothing to it but to do it." Literally, you can do it. You just have to take action. And it's kind of like a snowball effect. It's gonna start off small, but the more momentum that you get, the bigger it's going to become. More success, the more doors that are going to open, the more connections that you will make. You know, I used to have a preacher that would tell me, I can't follow what Eliott just said, but he says you can never receive your blessing if you don't run the route. So for those people who are religious, you know, God is going to throw the pass, okay? And you may slip on your route. The DB might bump you. He might be chucking you at the line. But if you don't get up and continue running that route, you're never going to ever catch the pass. You understand? So keep fighting, keep going, and you'll put yourself in position to be successful. It's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed. But you put yourself in position to be successful, and that's all you can do.
All right. Thank you, guys. Derek?
That was so awesome, y'all. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for joining us. Thanks to the audience for joining us today. Eric and I plan on doing more of these in the future, so I hope that you enjoyed this chat that we've had. Again, Tarold, Eliott, Kyle, Eric, thank you all so much. This was a lot of fun.
Appreciate y'all, man.
Get together again.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Peace.
Appreciate y'all, man. God bless y'all.
Yeah. Love y'all, bro. Yeah.
All right. Love you, man. Peace.
Thanks so much for watching this video. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to First Generation Comments and click on the bell to make sure that you're notified every time we upload, premiere, and go live.